Welcome to the Salt Circle Podcast. My name is Hank. With me, as always, is Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did it this time.
And this week, this time, one try. But this week, we're going to be talking about Digimon, and specifically Digimon Adventure, the very first season, or series, however you want to make that distinction, of that anime series.
Yeah. I guess it's not like
99.
It's not like Pokemon where you have like the same main character all the way through.
Nope.
I don't know. I guess I've always thought of them as series in my head.
Yes.
Well, the first two aren't real anyway, so whatever.
Exactly. But yeah, Digimon did some weird stuff with how it progressed. It was basically it was one show, and then as soon as that show ended, they started a sequel show the very next week with a lot of new production team. So that's why Adventure 02 is kind of weird. The production on this stuff was relentless.
Yeah, see, I'm just for me, this is I'm not going to be able to contribute nearly as much to this. I definitely got more into it in the Adventure 02.
Mm-hmm. That's fair, I guess.
I'm not old, is what I'm saying.
Yes, that's...
Even though there's only like a year difference.
It literally went from one to the other.
Yeah.
In Japan, it was a week between them.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, so I caught Digimon Adventure right from the start. That was an age where 99 I was 12, 13 I think by that time. But I would watch TV like every day. Like TV was my jam, watching TV all the time. So this came on whatever Saturday morning or whatever, and I saw it and I was like immediately hooked because it had it was different, it was weird, and it left on a good cliffhanger. So I was just like, I'm all in on this after I saw that first episode. I'm all in. It's literally they're falling off a cliff at the end of the first episode. Literal cliffhanger.
My experience was slightly different. And it starts with Pokemon. Which, honestly, probably an episode in and of itself, but the short of it is that, Pokemon was a thing. Hit America, took it by storm.
It was a thing.
I don't know where I heard of it. Like, school, TV, both, something. I don't know. And
yeah, Pokemon I heard about because Toys R Us sent out a VHS tape.
Yeah, I can't, or maybe from like my cousin or something. Anyway, and my parents didn't know what it was. Like, the fuck is a Pokemon? I don't, the what? The little, what's this? And, going to the store, and we're in the toy aisle. For some reason, my mom decides to ask these random, like, bystanders, like, do you guys know what Pokemon is? Naturally, this couple happened to be, like, an extremist Christian couple. So they start talking about how awful it is and how it's so sacrilegious and, like, borderline satanic, and it's just terrible and horrible, and kids shouldn't be allowed, should be banned, and all this other shit. And
wow.
It's something that my mom laughs about today, because, like, she realizes that it's dumb as fuck, but for some reason at the time just didn't decide to further investigate. Just, okay. So, no Pokemon for you. And I'm watching cartoons in the morning, and on a Saturday or whatever, and I think they must have announced it or something, and then I caught it, or I just happened to watch it, and I'm like, oh shit, Digimon. I was super excited about it. I was like 5 years old at the time, and the first connection I made was like, oh, Digimon, Pokemon, and I was like really excited. I was like telling my parents about this show. I'm like, it's almost like they're cousins with Pokemon because they both have Mon at the end. My mom's like, you're not allowed to watch Digimon. So that eventually like wore on. It couldn't have possibly lasted that long because I got into both of those things. So But yeah, initially there was. Yeah. And that was my experience with Digimon.
Nice.
At least the
So yeah,
first one.
Digimon started 2 years after Pokemon in Japan, but only it came to the U.S. only like a year after Pokemon came to the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I mean, Pokemon's obviously based on the video game, and Digimon is more based on Tamagotchi type things
Yep.
that would battle.
Yep.
Like it was specifically like monster raising stuff. Like the first Digimon video game, Digimon World, is like a hardcore monster raising sim where like your Digimon have to poop and they grow old and die.
Hell yeah.
Like
The
it's kind of
experience
a
I've been needing.
hardcore sim game. And then
Ever-
eventually, and then after that, they went to more traditional RPG stuff
Mhm.
in the vein
I
of more in the
definitely,
vein of Pokemon.
yeah, I definitely had one of the like little Digivice Tamagotchi things, but that was like the second gen.
Yeah.
But I knew a couple of kids that had like the OG ones.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know. Do they even have a different? Are they all Digivices or do they have different names? I don't
mean,
know. I can
they
think of
get
the shape, but oh no, they called them a crest.
yeah. There was the crests.
Yeah, okay.
Those were a different thing. That was,
The
unlocked their power to go to ultimate
naturally, of course,
instead of simply being able to get to champion.
like a fucking peasant.
Exactly. Yeah, but like one of the things, Digimon, like the designs are much weirder and grosser a lot of the times than Pokemon. There's a lot more like jagged, sharp teeth stuff and just like
Yeah,
like there are a lot of Digimon who throw poop as their attack.
I mean, there's that.
That's
and then
not
there's, like,
uncommon for weird stuff.
we're
Although it's always
gonna-
pink poop because
We're gonna start with
for
like
kids.
this anthropomorphic Hello Kitty wearing gloves or whatever, and then 1, 2, skip a few. I'm a hot angel babe. Like that
Yeah,
was a
that
thing that
happens.
that occurred.
Yeah, because they're based on Tamagotchi, so they all start as sort of like weird blob things, and then they get more defined as they digivolve.
Yeah.
Although, unlike Pokemon, it's sort of temporary. They have
Yeah.
like they get to stay in their default like
That was
marketable shape, and then they get stronger, and then they go
that
back
was
down.
kind of like part of my problem with it, and I don't have a good like. I didn't have a good alternative then, and I don't have
Yeah.
one now. But I kind of dislike that. Like you're telling me,
it definitely
you're telling me we're gonna turn to this thing with armor and a sword and metal and all this cool shit, and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh no, we lost. Now I'm a piece of goop again.
Or I won, and I'm a piece of goop again. Either way.
Okay, so
I mean,
but
the
if they
reason-
win, no, if they win, don't they turn into like the little two-legged cute fellas that could still
I mean,
walk
they just
instead
get.
of hop?
It's just they get tired. Win or lose, they're gonna go. They're gonna go back.
Oh,
no-
so it's a tired thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Digivolving. So part of the reason I love Digimon a lot is the way it dealt with the reality of the stuff. Mm-hmm. Like Digimon, they were to be able to digivolve. Not only is it like this emotional moment where these characters connecting or the kids being in danger, also the Digimon needs to be like well rested and well fed. Like they have to be in good shape or else they don't have the energy to do it. So the reason that they can't stay in those bigger forms is because that's a lot of energy. It's like take a lot of food to stay there. And also it would be a pain in the ass, probably. Like it's
mean-
the reason why in Pokemon, Ash's Pikachu is Pikachu is also like because that's the more marketable version. Like
Yeah.
and why Bulbasaur is never turned into Venusaur or whatever.
I mean,
because they're
I
more
was-
easier to deal with and they're smaller and whatever.
I was thinking about this just not horribly long ago in the shower, just having my shower thoughts. Mm-hmm. Ash was a piece of shit trainer. Like he wanted to be he wanted to be the
terrible.
very best in the worst way possible. In every way that sentence could be taken, like No, this is what I was thinking. Like, I could do an episode on Pokemon. Talk about my experience with the games. I could shit on the anime. Like, best of both worlds. But no, that's I definitely had like I think equal parts enjoyed the appeal of like Digimon compared to Pokemon. Like Pokemon, you have that kind of like obviously the collection factor, but then even I guess a bit more narrowed, like the team. Like you got the boys, you got the Squirtle Squad. But in Digimon, you have that sort of like that one connection, that kind of like soulmate sort of thing going on. And I can dig that. It's like having a bunch of turtles that are chill, or you have like one loyal dog that makes food puns all the time.
Yeah, Pokemon has the ability, like that's part of the reason why Pokemon can keep being about Ash forever, because they can just trade out all his Pokemon.
I mean, and
he can just forget about all his friends because he's a piece of garbage. All his best friends, except Pikachu, just go away. Like, go somewhere else. I don't need you
also
anymore.
Decided he
You're
doesn't
garbage.
age. Like that was a
he aged backwards.
Yeah, but it's like a conscious decision to like make him immortally a preteen. Yeah. So
I mean, he went to school.
Apparently, meanwhile, in Digimon, those poor bastards have to eventually grow up.
They do. They grow up.
Yeah,
it's actually about growing up in some ways, but yeah. So the other thing with Digimon is all the Digimon are much more. They talk. They speak English, so they have more. They're more characters in their own right. Also, so you have basically. They're much less developed. They're all kind of similar to each other with varying differences, whereas the kids are more like
99% food puns.
These particular, well, that's season 2.
Okay,
it's not quite as bad in season 1 as that, but there is a lot of that. But the kids are all like set archetypes because you have this big cast, so it's not about like this character has to like carry the show. You're not just stuck with like 3 people the whole time or whatever. They have their strengths are about bouncing off each other and the way they interact. And the Digimon are just sort of like
who's your favorite character?
A way to reflect off that.
Is your favorite character Izzy?
It kind of varies per arc of adventure, I would say, but TK at the end of the day, it's TK.
Okay, there we go.
But like, there's parts of the show where he's like doesn't matter and is barely talks. So for that part of the show, it's not like the second major arc. TK is not a big deal because Patamon is not even there. You don't even have Patamon. It's just Tokomon, whatever. The little baby form that is somehow the most terrifying form because it has this. It's like this little cute thing, except it has this giant mouth full of teeth when it attacks.
Yeah.
But also there are points where I like Tai the best, and there are parts where I like Izzy the best.
Okay.
Those are probably my 3 favorites, I would say.
I like the big black lion guy who tried to destroy everything with the big ball of energy. Was that Adventure?
Black Lion.
Like Black War Greymon or something.
Oh, Black War Greymon, that's season 2.
God, that's fucking okay. Well, he transcends the seasons.
That's So one of the things about Digimon is that it's like it was an accident that it kept going. Like they planned it out as a 13 episode show just because they wanted to help sell these toys. But it caught on enough that they're just like, I guess we're just going to keep going. So that the first arc is like defined on this one island. It's like step by step, the characters each getting their own episodes, coming into their Digimon Digivolve. And then like the final boss is revealed to be the Devimon who lives on top of a mountain. And then he's defeated by prophecy where TK's Digimon finally digivolves into an angel and like sacrifices itself to kill him. But then the next season, they go in a whale and they go to the island of Server and they fight a monkey who is an Elvis impersonator. Like, it gets much weirder and less coherent
When you
because
say
they're just like,
season, do you mean Adventure
I mean,
2 or like the next
second
arc?
arc,
Okay,
second
there we go.
arc.
Just for
Because
clarity's sake.
the big thing with the show is basically split into 4 major arcs, and the second one is kind of the shortest because the second half of those 13 episodes start building into the next arc, which is kind of the most important one and the one that's like the most well remembered. But
Sure.
like the other big thing for me with Digimon, another reason I like it is it's a thing that I like is kids getting sucked into another world. Like Lion the Witch in the Wardrobe, my favorite part of it is just that opening part of going into the wardrobe.
Yeah.
I love the Phantom Toll Booth. Like there's like a movie version of that book where like it turns animated from live action. That it's one of those things I always love. I like that thing, and I like that in Digimon Adventure they're just stuck in the digital world. Like a lot of the conflict comes from we're stuck in this strange place, and we have to figure out like how we're gonna eat and where we need to go and what we need to do. And it's like this weird place where, like episode 2, they find a bunch of phone booths on the beach. There's just like weird stuff, and they don't understand the nature of it until it like gets revealed. It's like a weird computer world. So the stuff that's in there is like a weird reflection of like stuff from the internet and computer tech in general.
Yeah, I actually once I think it was recently that, or at the very least it was recently that I discovered that Digimon was on Netflix, or at least the first series. And there's like the first and the 5th series or some bullshit like that. I don't think it's like all of it. And that was when I watched through the I think I made it through like a handful of episodes. And I watched them in Japanese, and then I watched through like the first 2 or whatever in English, which that's that's what I realized what the dubs did.
So yeah, the dub not only ripped out all the music and replaced it with not original music, it just stuff Saban had from other shows they had made. Because it was Saban who dubbed it, so they just like stuck in this other music that they had from other shows. That was like hadn't been successful enough or whatever. But then also they would fill in anytime there was empty silence. That's no good. Gotta write some dialogue or jokes
Well,
in
even
there.
there was
too.
like, I remember at least a couple instances of, oh, we have this little phrase that's revealing something about this person's character. Nah, fuck it, they can make a pun here.
Yeah,
There's
man.
a
Yeah,
pun
man.
to be had.
There are puns to
Which,
be
like,
had.
I don't think one is necessarily better than the other. Like, it's both.
No,
fine.
it again, Digimon I think toes the line between making fun of itself a lot of the times with the dub. And sometimes that's welcome because sometimes the show's not like it's cheaply made and it's like, yeah, spruce it up. And sometimes it's annoying because there are things about the show that's just inherently good and that can some of the music changes and stuff can undermine it sometimes. But I am more attached to the dub than the subtitle for Adventure, one because of nostalgia, and B because I just think the voice actors that worked on this show were very good for the dub. Like they've
I
gone
would
on to
definitely
do a lot
agree.
of stuff.
Like,
So I think that's like the strongest part of the dub was the cast.
no, that's I'd say that's a fair assessment. I guess I didn't know about the music, and even if I'd watched it more, I was too little to probably care at all.
That's fair. So when it aired, so part of the reason why it was something I became completely obsessed with, I would say, was one, I was already into it. And then it did this amazing thing that no other cartoon at the time when I was a kid did, which was they went, all right, we're actually just going to air one new episode every day of the week. Like they
Oh
got like
man.
5 episodes in of airing it on Saturdays, and then they went, nah, just like afternoons every weekday, new episode.
Just fucking do everything.
Just
That
fucking
sounds like
burn through this backlog.
that
And they
sounds
weren't
like
like
a
that far ahead, but
it sounds like a better model of what I guess I think Adventure Time does a bit in like Steven Universe and other shows. Like we're just gonna throw like 7 episodes at you at once, just all at once. That sounds
yeah.
like the better model of that strategy.
Because those shows are doing it because they're like, it takes so long for them to make a batch of episodes that they're on this hiatus, and they're just like, we just put it out. It's kind of like a response to the problem with shows in the internet age where this stuff is just going to get out there and get pirated, so it's better just to put it out there for people because they're going to find it anyway.
It's still like
Like Avatar had that problem where they would try to hold episodes, and then it would just get out there on the internet, and people would have watched it and hurt the ratings to an extent.
I guess.
But also they were real bad about it because they would air like 4 episodes. Like it was rough. It would take, the production was just, in terms of put it out. Whereas Adventure Time and Steven Universe, it like at least makes sense. I understand what they're doing.
Yeah, the
But,
hiatus just is annoying.
The hiatuses are,
Like,
because
by the
those are
time
high.
the-
Like they put work into those shows. Like part of
Yeah.
the Digimon is cheap, and it was coming out every week in Japan.
Yeah.
And like you can tell from episode to episode, like, oh, this is this team. Oh, this is the good team on this one.
is the
And
good
this is the last.
This is the
good
A
team.
team.
Yeah, like the styles from episode to episode will change.
Okay. I guess
Slightly.
I haven't noticed that like at all.
Yeah, I've watched the show a lot.
Yeah.
So it started doing that. So it started airing every day, which was amazing at the time. But also, the thing that like really kicked it up was when it started doing it during that it was like a summertime thing, and it had like this. They had a jingle that went with it of like beat the heat with the Digibeat of like this ad campaign where they aired new episodes throughout the summer, which was when most shows would go on hiatus normally.
Yeah.
And
That's
as a
pretty
kid
dope.
who's like off of school and just
Yeah.
wants to watch TV all the time, like having one of my favorite shows just air all summer was just delightful. Like I was so happy.
No, that'd be sick.
So that was again another part of how I experienced it that made it such a fun thing in real time. And that's also when the show kind of got to its most impressive part, which was basically the story that happens is eventually the villains, the major villain that's established, Myotismon, who's a vampire.
Sure.
Like he's a Digimon, but he's also a vampire. Like he's weak to sunlight and weak to garlic and drinks people's blood. Like he's a full vampire, but also a Digimon. He escapes into the real world. Basically with a quest, was saying that we have these 7 kids. There's actually an 8th Digidestined, who's like the one who can stop him, and he's gonna escape and find them in the real world and kill them.
Okay.
And then that leads to the kids getting back to the real world. So then you have this whole arc where they're in the real world, like there's like a monster fight at Tokyo Tower at one point. Like there's like an episode of them trying to get home after they get back to the real world where they have to hitchhike.
Okay.
Like it's just like that real world stuff. And then also like the kids' parents become characters in the show too. Like all the kids' parents, like they have their family situations. Like Matt and TK, parents are divorced, so there's like stuff with that.
Right.
TK's Izzy is adopted, so there's tension there. There's just like lots of character stuff that's happening there. And then there's just the change of pace of suddenly all this is happening in Japan, like in like the real world.
Yeah.
There's some good parts of like and jokes of like there's a monster fight going on in the background. There just some salarymen sitting on a bench going, "Oh, it's hot to one today, right?" Yeah. They just like think it's a movie or whatever and ignore it. Some good jokes with that.
Yeah, I remember like there's something about I remember seeing it from the film, but I think it's something in the show too that they bring up, like the fight that takes place when like Ty is super young
Yeah.
or whatever.
So that's
Like there's a big
yeah.
like do people just not care? Do people just not give a fuck that there's all two giant dinosaur things fighting in the middle? Like, just okay, like, it's Japan, whatever. Other
Yeah,
fucking
you know,
day.
it's Japan. Monsters destroy the
Yeah.
Tokyo Tower all the time. It's just,
Yeah,
you know,
okay.
it's whatever. So there is some explanation for that. So before the series aired in Japan, there was a movie, like, and by movie I mean it was like 20 minutes long, but I think it aired in theaters there. That was directed by Mamoru Hosoda, who also directed one episode of the show and then the second movie, and then went on to do some other animated movies like Girl Who Leapt Through Time and Summer Wars, which are like critically acclaimed, some of the best animated movies
I've never heard
I've
of
ever
them, so
seen.
they can't be that good.
Pretty good. They're pretty good. Most hilariously is that his like second big movie, Summer Wars, is a critically acclaimed movie that is a complete just a remake of one of his second Digimon movie. Like it hits all the same plot beats as our war game, which is immensely delightful to me.
Okay. That's a pretty
Yeah, so that first special is it's about Tai and his little sister Kari and an Agumon or a Koromon that then becomes an Agumon, a Greymon, which is Tai's main Digimon that comes into the real world through as like an egg that falls out of their computer.
yeah.
And then started like slowly as the movie goes on, it just starts getting bigger and bigger until it has a fight with a Parrotmon at the end.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's all
really the
and
thing
the
is called Parrotmon.
yeah,
Can't
it's
fucking
Parrotmon.
yeah. Okay. Like, all right, you got
Nope.
me. I just remember him like blowing a whistle. There's a whistle scene.
Yes,
He's all like-
there's a whistle scene. It's important.
And then boom, he blows it really loudly, and something
Also,
happens.
also they of course when they put it in the dubbed version of the movie, they completely changed the music, I think. But in the original, it's literally just the score of Ravel's Bolero, which is like a famous classical piece. That's like the whole. It's just that one piece of music is throughout the whole thing.
Okay.
So it's pretty good. But so that's sort of that becomes like so that's like the origin story of the Digimon stuff of like this event happening and these Digimon fighting, and then Tai basically it's like he forgot about it. By the time the show started, Tai doesn't remember that. He's older. He's a little bit older.
That.
But
Why?
they don't because he was like a little fucking kid. Like
How little?
But they go back to it.
Yeah. Okay.
Go back to it. So what happens is the end of the second major arc, like the first time they beat this evil monkey Elvis impersonator Adamon, who's like made this he's become like this demonic gaping mass that's absorbing everything, and they blow him up, and it sucks Tai and Agumon back into the real world for an episode. Mm-hmm. So you get this one episode that's directed by Mamoru Hosoda, so it's like of higher quality and it's super weird. It's like very dreamlike the way he shoots it, like the color palette's all washed out,
Okay.
and it's Tai is back in the real world, but by himself, finds his way back home, and then realizes that no time has passed in the real world since they've been in the digital world. In the
Right.
digital world, like time there's like a time dilation or whatever, so time was moving faster. But that also means that all this time that he's in the real world now, lots of time is passing for everyone he left behind.
Yeah.
So he has to get back. And there's stuff with Digimon like showing up in the real world on TV, but it's not like they're actually there. They're like bleeding through because there's like distortion in reality or whatever.
Okay.
Because whatever evil force is distorting the digital world is like bleeding into the real world. So the Digimon appear on TV, but like only him and Kari can see them.
Okay.
Kari's,
So the big
Kari's,
fight that happened, like only they could see.
that one's different. I think those Digimon actually were there temporarily,
Okay.
but it was a thing. Like in the movie, they show kids watching from the terraces. So the thing, so like the first thing the kids do when they get back to the real world is check out that place of Heightened View, which is Heightened View Terrace, which was where supposedly the eighth child is supposed to be. They've been told by Genai, who's this old dude who lives in the digital world, that it's really unclear what he is.
Yeah.
He says he's not a Digimon, but he's also just lives, or a human, but he lives in the digital world. So his deal's weird. So they go there, and as they're there, a fight happens, and they slowly start to remember that, oh, right, there was a fight here. We kind of remember between two Digimon, and they remember it, Greymon and Parrotmon. And when seeing this as a kid, I didn't know what the fuck they're talking about, because that film hadn't come out in America or anything. It's like you don't even know that happened if you're watching it on you were just watching the show. So it's a weird experience. But basically, there had just been a cover up. Like all those kids had moved away from that area at that time, and it was labeled as a terrorist attack. All the damage from that Greymon and Parrotmon fight. That's why none of those kids lived there anymore. And they had all seen that fight, because there are shots in the movie of kids on terraces watching it. Yes, only kids happened to see it. Basically.
Okay. I mean, we'll ignore that statistic. Yeah. It still bothers me that they all forgot seeing giant fucking dinosaurs fighting in the, like, come on, he wasn't that young. I can remember shit from when I was 4 years old with like vivid clarity. A dinosaur fight would have been in the realm of things I recall.
Yeah, well, they definitely do the the amnesia, and then they only remember when they go back there. They're kind of experiencing it over again. Fine.
I guess.
But it's one of those things, like, it's unclear, like, when the show is running, or, like, unclear. Is that actually canon? Because it had a different feel to it. The way that Greymon, Koromon digivolving thing in that movie worked was kind of different, where it was way bigger than, like, Agumon. The Agumon that is way bigger than Agumon ever gets in the show. Mm-hmm. It's just like, it eats, it poops, it's much more like the Tamagotchi games, where it's just this thing that's getting bigger and bigger, and then it has a fight, and then it disappears.
Yep.
Also, there's a weird thing where they get out of the way you open the gate to the real world is, like, by placing these cards on this 3x3 grid. And you have to, it's like it's described as a spell, but the answer turns out to be, oh, it's all about just knowing the different types of Digimon, like the rookie, champion, and ultimate, and then lighting them up into the correct slot of virus, vaccine, and data, which are the three major Digimon types.
Okay, I have zero recollection of that.
But then there's one duplicate card.
Oh.
So it's a 50-50 shot of whether you go to the real world or shit fucks up. And hilariously enough, they bring that back up in season 2, which is really why I mentioned it at all. Because when we do that podcast, it'll come back. Yeah, so then they have this whole thing of who's the eighth child? Who could they be? Who else could have been at Heighton View Terrace? And
Oh
it's like
man.
really obvious it's Kari, Ty's little
Yeah,
sister,
no,
who didn't go to camp because she was sick.
yeah.
Like, it's not a mystery, but the show, like, plays it like it's a mystery, even though they explicitly show you. Like, the last shot of the Ty went back to the real world episode is of a Digivice sitting on the table in their apartment that then their cat steals.
Yeah. See, I remember
And,
her
like,
being sick
Ty's... Yeah.
because even as a small child, when I saw that part of the film for the first time, she's like sick and coughing, and he like takes the whistle from her and blows on it anyway. And I was like, "What are you doing? That's disgusting. Could you even like wipe it off first? It's gross."
You know, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yes, yeah, obviously. Why did they?
You have to train a Digimon.
Why did they think the whistle was like? Why did the
I
whistle
think
work?
it responded to it earlier
Okay.
when it was smaller.
Okay, that makes slightly
No.
more sense then, I guess. I just remember
Also,
them blowing the whistle like the fight stops and
Yeah.
everything else.
Because at that point, like, Greymon is kind of out of control, so they don't. He's
Yeah.
like become this big dinosaur thing from this little cute ball, and it's like, are you still the same thing? Are you like just a berserker gone crazy or whatever?
Berserk, you say?
No.
Yes. How how tasteful
no.
was the finale?
I mean, finale of Digimon does have a monster cutting itself, so that
I
happens.
don't think that. Yeah, yeah, full
They kind of
berserk.
edited. They kind of edited that out in the American version.
Of
oddly
course.
enough.
I mean, no. If you show that to kids, they're gonna start doing bad things.
Yeah. So then there's the. So it turns out like one of the henchmen of Myotismon is Kari's partner, which is Gatomon,
Yeah.
aka Catmon.
Yeah, Catmon. Yeah.
Gatomon.
Fuck. hell.
Yeah. So that the big one of the big turning points in that arc is when Myotismon is like fed up being in the shadows and goes, "Yeah, we're just gonna take over this city and kidnap everybody, and then go through them one by one once we've rounded them all up." So like they're like ghosts running around the city, just rounding people up and capturing everyone, including the kids' parents.
Sure.
So that's a thing. And they're like one of their leaders is this weird Phantomon who has a Boris Karloff impression that I love. It's just really good. It's just really funny. Some good lines. There's some good voice acting there. Silly stuff.
So
And yet,
is
yeah,
it still being
what?
played off as a terrorist attack,
No, at this point,
or is it just kind of
people
like, really-
just know. Like,
All right, there's just shit going on.
it just, yeah, it's all out of the bag. Like, it's like there's no like hiding it from the people who are experiencing this. The big thing is that it's just this section of the city that's been
Oh, it's
completely
not-
covered in smog.
Okay.
He builds a dome of smoke that is
Okay, so
impenetrable.
they're pulling like a persona. It's like
Yeah.
this fog.
So it's like this area of the
Okay.
city people can't get to.
Okay, so it's not like the.
So
I was
there's-
thinking like the whole city.
There's a whole part where like some of the characters are at a stop to the ferry, and it's like super crowded because no one can get into the city because the boats can't get through the fog.
Okay.
You know, normal stuff you got to deal with. It's like not being able to get on a ferry. It happens.
Normal. You know what? Maybe don't live in an anime if you don't want that to happen. It's their own
Look,
fault.
it happens in real life
Maybe
when
one
there's
time.
like, you know, a terrorist attack. That happens.
It's
I've
not-
lived through that.
Yeah. Like once. Baby.
Wow. Um, but yeah. So then, Kari gets her stuff, everything happens. Myotismon gets blown up, kind of, but then he doesn't. There's basically they beat the villain, but then nothing's been fixed, and they're still stuck in this fog for an episode.
Yeah.
They kind of bits around, and then there's another prophecy.
Oh shit.
So the sky will be clouded by the wings of many bats. When the hour strikes the number of the beast will rise in his true form as the beast, and angels will shoot arrows of hope and light at the loved ones of those they were sent to protect, and a miracle will happen. Please always recycle, I think, is how that goes.
Okay, so I followed you pretty much all the way through that.
Yeah.
Except for the last bit.
Yeah, that last bit seems weird, I think, is the line
Please
that
recycle.
follows it.
Please recycle. Floss your teeth.
Yeah.
Buy or no, what the hell is the Christmas story bullshit, like Ovaltine or whatever?
Always drink your Ovaltine.
Always drink your Ovaltine.
Yes. The secret message is just an ad for Ovaltine.
Yeah, that's right. It was like the decoder ring thing.
Yeah. Uh-huh. If you're
pretty good.
really in the club, you get an ad.
Yep.
It's basically an ARG.
Oh no.
It's basically how all ARGs work.
Yeah.
So yeah, then Myotismon comes back as a weird monster thing who has like another head in his crotch. Kind of.
I mean, technically,
It's sort of his
technically
belly,
most-
but it's also his crotch.
technically most male species have another head
Yeah.
in their crotch.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
And then there's the miracle part happens where it's Ty and Matt need to be shot by their siblings, TK and Kari's Digimon with arrows of hope and light. So they do that, and Ty and Matt hold hands when it happens. It's very cute. And then the Digimon get to go to a higher level. And then Greymon, or Agumon and Gabumon get to become War Greymon and Metal Garurumon. And then they're
Yeah.
very strong.
Yep.
And
I
then
know
they beat
those
the bad
guys.
guy. Although part of it ends with War Greymon kicking the building of, which is like a famous building in Japan because I've seen it. It's the TV station. It's like the circular dome thing. He kicks it like a soccer ball at Myotismon.
Oh yeah. I mean, how else are you gonna take care of the guy?
So that happens.
Look, he had a plan and he executed it.
Yeah. So part of what I love about another part of what's great about this string of episodes is that they kind of always end on a down note for like this whole Myotismon stretch. It's kind of like, yeah, we have our triumphant battle victory, and then oh shit.
Yeah.
And coincidentally that got matched with the jingle guy on the show deciding he wanted to come up with a song to sort of match the way the anime would play this special music for battle fight stuff, like basically a song with lyrics. So he wrote the song Hey Digimon, which is this very like chinky
Yep. That
chinky thing that sort of spells out the story of the show. And that starts playing during all the battles. But it comes at this point of the show where, like, yeah, that happens, and you get your cheery music, and then everything bad happens. Like, it's like, yay! Aw! And I just always love that dumb, like, what's the word? Like, the contrast of that.
sure.
Of, like,
yeah.
it's everything's happy. Oh wait, everything's terrible. Like let's cheer up and get sad, which is like what part of what like season 2 of Avatar: The Last Airbender is also great at that kind of thing of like
Oh
every
yeah,
episode is like, oh god, everything's bad.
yeah.
um,
Season. Oh, I think season 3 had Zuko alone.
yeah,
Still a good episode,
yeah.
but
But it, like season 2 has stuff where it's like, yeah, we're gonna go see Boomy again. Oh shit, his city's been taken over
they
or whatever.
did see him again. They met the goal.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking whiners.
So after Myotismon gets beaten a second time, for reals this time, kind of.
God damn For real, kinda.
For reals. He doesn't come back till
Sorta.
season 2. Till
Naturally.
Digimon 02. The fog lifts and it's like finally we're free, and then oh no, oh god, the sky is broken.
I vaguely
And the
recall
entire sky has the digital world in it floating upside down.
that. Yep, definitely recall that.
So that happens, and they're all just like, well, shit. Because, again, time passes much more quickly in the digital world, so all this time they've been fighting Myotismon, things in the digital world have just been getting much, much worse.
Yeah.
So they have their, like, tearful goodbyes with their parents, or they don't tell their parents, or whatever. No, they have their goodbyes to their family, and then they decide to go back to the digital world to fix everything.
I mean, they
And that
didn't need
starts
to tell their
the-
parents anyway. Just like, I'll be back in like 10 minutes.
They're 11-year-olds or whatever. They're independent.
Yeah, of course.
They're varying ages. I forget how old all of them are. So they go back, and it turns out the entire digital world has been turned into a spiral,
Yep.
a single spiral mountain. It's by 4 extremely powerful Mega Digimon who are like the masterminds or whatever, the true evil of Piedmon, Puppetmon, Machinedramon, and Metal Seedramon. Like the 4, and they each have like a realm. So they each have like one section of the spiral that goes all the way up. That's like their domain. And they like reformed the shape of it so that it would be more destructive to the barriers between the two worlds, basically. That kind of thing. And so the last arc involves a lot of, hey, it's this Digimon who was our friend from the other show. Oh wait, he's sacrificing himself to save us. Now he's dead. Oh god, everything's bad. Like there's literally a scene of where Mimi starts setting up some graves for Digimon that have sacrificed themselves for them. And then and Ty's like, come on, we don't have time for that. And then Matt gets mad. It's like, were you fucking heartless? Like, we're sad our friends are dead. Come on. Like, that's the kind of tone we're working with here. In that in this last arc.
some.
So, because there's also so the way death works in Digimon with Digimon is kind of weird. Where
Okay, just like go to the recycle bin and like right click restore all.
yeah, so
items or something.
they're just data. So when they've expended all their energy and they're done, they theoretically turn back into an egg, and they kind of like get reincarnated. Like the end of season 1 ends with TK's Digimon expending all his power to beat the big bad, but then turning back into an egg, and then TK sort of has to like raise him back up all the way over again, like the Tamagotchi starting over again thing. So it also early on it's established that there's a specific place, the primary village, where Digimon are born, and that's like where they all come from. They all turn out as eggs, and then they hatch from an egg to a baby in a basket. So like it's just part of their birthday promise is having a little basket, and then their little
basket.
their little blob with 2 eyes.
Yeah.
Just that's just their thing. But during the Myotismon arc, this takes a different turn because Digimon who die in the real world, their data can't go back to Primary Village, so they're just kind of actually dead.
Yeah.
Like there's an episode where the dub tries to paper over this.
No.
Where Digimon has a line like, "I'm going to send you to my dungeon in the digital world." It's like, no, you just killed them. That's what happened.
Y'all are dead. You can't dub over this. That's pretty bad.
Just one of those like really bad dubs. Just like you immediately see through it as a kid. You're just like, I know what happened there.
Yep.
I know what you did.
I'm gonna send you to my dungeon in the digital world. My digital dungeon, if you will.
So there was a big character death sort of at the climactic fight of Wizardmon dying, sacrificing himself to save Kari and Gatomon.
Wizardmon, though.
Wizardmon was pretty good. He had a very good voice actor in the dub. Like, very good. He at one point he tricks the villain by giving him what's clearly sake. So Demi Devimon can go get drunk, but I think in the dub they change it to chili sauce.
Sure, of course.
There's some good stuff of like
Hand me those
obvious
donuts.
alcohol being changed into stuff in Digimon of like, oh, give this guy soda. The bubbles go right to his head.
Yeah, yeah. That's
classic.
Yeah.
I mean, at least I understand that. I never understood the Pokemon thing of just calling rice balls donuts.
Because kids are too dumb to understand what a rice ball is. They never encountered a rice ball.
I mean, I didn't know what the fuck kind of donuts they were eating.
They didn't look. They know what rice is, right? They know what a ball is. What the fuck is a rice ball? You can't just throw words together like that and expect it to be fine.
I mean, they could have at least like gone in and erased the rice ball and drawn in a donut if they were going to do that.
That's stupid.
I mean, in the Yu-Gi-Oh dub, they went in and erased all the guns, so characters are often just pointing their hands out with nothing in them.
Yeah. Why not?
It's what 4Kids move there.
Yeah. Yeah. That,
yeah. Dub stuff.
Yeah. I'm looking at just like I had the plot summary open and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like apparently the last baddie is Apocalypse.
Yes.
Is that the
Apocalypse?
Sure. Based on their naming conventions, I'm surprised it's just not Evil Big Bad Mon. Like
they do like to just put other words in front of words to make stronger things sometimes. Yeah. Like Metal Seedramon or whatever, or Black War Greymon.
Yeah, it's not just. Oh, why is everything always gotta be black with you?
But yeah, so the Dark Master arc happens. The more interesting thing that happens there is there's fracture among the team. So at a certain point, Matt decides he's like fed up and he decides he wants to fight Tai because he feels like he hasn't grown as a person, and the only way he can do it is, by punching someone,
beating down his friend. I've been there.
So they have that fight,
the Crump arc.
That's pretty good. But after that, the team kind of splits off.
Mm-hmm.
Where Matt goes off on his own. Mimi and Joe decide, or Mimi specifically decides she just doesn't want to fight anymore. So she's going to go off on her own, and Joe goes with her. And they go off, and then the rest of the squad kind of is going with Tai, continuing on straight with the mission of defeating the...
not pussing out.
Yeah, not pussing out. Saving the world.
Yeah.
We're here to save the world.
We don't want to fight anymore. What are you going to do? What are you going to do to save what's your
solution?
I mean,
what it turns out she does is she goes around and collects lots of Digimon. Like, they just go and find everyone all the friendly Digimon who're still alive, and just, like, building a posse. So
And
that's cool.
then they do what?
Well,
Do
so
they,
at
do
some
they go
point
fight?
they fight Edamon again,
Okay, there you go.
the giant the Elvis monkey who's gotten more powerful
Oh yeah, that's what I see.
somehow.
Metal Edamon?
Yeah, Metal Edamon.
Of course, that's how
yeah,
you know.
it's a classic. And then they find Leomon, who's in the first arc, who's like the other like heroic Digimon who was just around in the first season but was constantly getting mind controlled by the bad guy, and they kept having to free him from that. So they do a thing where like the way that that first arc worked was like a black gear would take someone over, and then they would have to like shine their digivice on it, and then it would just break, or they could fight them and beat them up. But like shining your digivice on them is easier. Just like, yeah,
But not
you're
as
good
much
again.
fun.
You're purified. So there's a thing with like he was purified so many times that now he just digivolves to Mega on his own. It's just like, yeah, I can just go Mega. I'm just like, I don't have a human or anything.
Okay.
So he's just there. But then he dies fighting
Oh.
Metal Edamon,
Yeah, of course.
I think. Cuz that becomes
How
a
else are you gonna do
tradition.
it?
It becomes a tradition for Leomon to die in seasons of Digimon. That's a thing that happens.
That sounds familiar, yeah. Like I definitely can picture him.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah, it's a big thing in Tamers. I think is where that pattern gets set up, because he's not in season 2 because that's the same story. So yeah, the other weird thing is like they can't figure out how to beat the Dark Masters, and then Izzy is like on his computers and figures out that, oh, War Greymon is a Draymon destroyer. So he has these, his claws are very good at destroying Draymon, which is like machine Dramon. It'll see Dramon. Like literally Digimon that have a draw at the end is what they
that's
mean. Becomes a
how
type.
convenient.
I mean, the reason that like
How the
Angemon and
fuck did
Angel
he find
Woman
this out on
have
his-
using his computer.
Well,
'Cause
he just goes on
he
Yahoo,
researched.
Yahoo Kids and
Yeah,
like
he goes
how
on the
to
Digimon
defeat-
wiki.
Yeah, the DigiWiki, and is like, yo, how we feed all these Dramons,
Yeah,
and they're
exactly.
like, yo, you just gotta enslave a War Greymon, and just take his claws, like literally take his claws if you have to. And just give all the Dramons that are giving you trouble, just give them a little poke, and poof.
Yeah. But it's important that it's his claws, because it's not his giant big ball of energy that he throws. It's like
That
when
would
he
be
does his twisting tornado attack with his claws is like the more effective thing.
That would be like an anti-hero that I would support, though it's probably a bit too dark for Digimon. Is like a guy who has been going around trying to, like, I guess, kill War Greymons and like take their claws, and has like weapons and armor and shit made out of them, and he wants to defeat all the Dramons for whatever.
All the Dramons.
All the Dramons. That'd be a cool character.
And I didn't put it together when they first started doing it, of the Draymon thing. It took me a while, I will admit, to realize that they just meant
it's pronounced Dramon.
yeah, but they say it Draymon in the show.
Okay, well, Crump once pronounced Chandra as Chandra, so actually,
I'm just trying to explain why I was confused. Why it took me a while to pick up on what the fuck they were talking about.
but Piedmon isn't a Dramon.
No. And he's the most powerful of all the four. He's the leader. He's the one that's the most trouble. Like Puppetmon gets beat by Metal War Greymon. He's just like a fuckhead who wants friends. Like,
Yeah, how dare you?
but he doesn't understand friendship at all, and he's just kind of a petty piece of garbage. TK breaks all his toys at one point, so he gets mad.
Wow, that's kind of a dick move. What
Well,
was
his
the reasoning
toys,
for that? What
they
were
were
his
like
toys?
they were like voodoo dolls. So he
Did
had
they
like
work?
little toy versions of all the characters, and then he would
Yeah,
like
but did
mess
the
with them. He could like tickle them, and then they would be tickled. He could turn them upside down, and then they would be physically turned upside down in real life.
so you can just defeat him that way? Like he never thought
Uh,
once,
he
like,
kind of
oh, I could.
he kind of did defeat him that way, but then like TK goes with him for whatever reason because he wants a friend, and then TK sneaks around and wrecks him. Also, Puppetmon tries to prove he can make friends at one point by building himself like a puppet person. Like
Does the puppet person
I like
reject
to
him?
make friends. No, it's not.
Oh, make friends. I get
Yes.
fucking. That's terrible. Of course, that's how they handle that. Oh my god.
Like has like a football head or something. But then he finds out TK's left. And that gets interrupted again. Also, they do a lot of exposition during that part. There's a thing where they explain like that these chosen the way the Digidestined thing worked of there was this group who was working against the Dark Masters a long time ago and specifically picked out these Digi eggs with the Digivices and the crests to give to these kids so that they could win, but then stuff happened. They got attacked in the middle of that. So the crests got lost, Gatomon got lost, which was why she wasn't with the other Digimon. It's kind of like working backwards from the point because obviously they had written this show in order. Like it wasn't like they had thought this out beforehand. So it's one of
Yeah.
those like this is how this all fits together because we've needed to fit together somehow. But
So,
you can
like,
tell like
the George Lucas approach, kinda. Or
yeah,
did he
just
have it more plotted out? Anyway,
yeah. You get to see
Throw this
young
shit together.
Jedi. You get to see like Jedi is like a young dude, I think, at one point. Because the people working on this stuff are all like hooded figures, and only one of them reveals
young-
himself.
say young Jedi.
Jedi,
Oh,
who's the old
Jedi.
dude.
I was
He's
like,
the
what
old
are you
dude
talking about?
they don't know what to deal with. Who sort of instructs them at a certain point
Yeah.
on what the fuck's going on. Who he clearly knew. Who does like the dicking you around of not telling you the thing you need to know, even though he knows it, but then tells you anyway.
Yeah.
Like he has. There's a scene where he doesn't tell them what they need to know, but then like directly after that, he just tells Izzy when Izzy asks him, just so
That sounds
Izzy can
about
have the
right.
moment of knowing the right thing to do.
Oh yeah.
Because
Yeah. What a.
I mean that is a thing I like about the show is that a lot of it, a lot of the battle stuff comes down to Izzy figuring something out. Like it's not just always the sheer power of like Ty's Digimon being the strongest is why they win. Like that happens sometimes, but sometimes it's because Izzy figured a thing out or has a plan or whatever.
I mean, how often do they win due to the
'Cause
power
he
of
has-
friendship, though?
I mean, only Matt's the power of friendship. Like that's literally his crest, and he's the one who tries to fight Ty. So
Look, the power of friendship, not the meek, petty bullshit of friendship.
it's not described as the power of friendship. Often, I mean, it is. It is the power of friendship. The power of friendship is a lot of the show, I would say. But actually, a lot of it's just like other Deus Ex Machinas too, though. Not even
like
friendship.
It's like a spin-off Doc Ock quote or something. The power of friendship in the palm of my hand. Punches Ty in the face.
Like, there's a weird thing of like Kari being some kind of light god, and she frees a bunch of enslaved Digimon from Machinedramon just by like glowing. And like
Yeah,
that
why
exposition dump comes from some ancient power possessing her and explaining everything through her because she's special or whatever. It's weird.
Ugh.
She and TK are kind of deemed as
Yeah.
higher tier because they're the youngest kids, but also like their powers are the most potent, and they
They're the
digivolve the least often.
purest.
It's hope and light.
Yeah.
Their powers. They have angels and whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how they beat Piedmon. The way they end up beating Piedmon is TK's Digimon finally reaches ultimate, and he's more powerful than the big bad. Like just straight up.
Okay.
Who's
Yeah.
who's a mega. He's like a higher tiered. But ultimate manga Magna Angemon, I think. Whatever. Magna. Yeah.
Well, I know
He's
it's more
just super
powerful
weird.
than that though.
Yeah.
Metal Magna Angemon.
Oh shit. I think his mega form that's only in like a movie is Seraphimon, I think.
Is that like the gold thing or something?
It's like blue.
Oh,
And
right, okay.
also Piedmon's big villainous thing he does is he starts turning everyone into keychains.
Yeah, that
So
seems familiar.
So like after kind of he wins the fight against Wargreymon and Metal Garurumon, he just starts like throwing blankets over people, and then they turn into keychains, and it's a big long chase thing where at the end only TK is left. And then he gets an inspirational speech from Matt's keychain, from Keychain Matt, and I don't know how that works. If it's just in his head, but that happens. But they do a cool thing before that fight where like Tai is like planning things out and like won't let anyone but Wargreymon fight Piedmon at first because he needs everyone else to save their strength for when Matt arrives. It's just like it does like the anime thing of like holding people back because we'll need you later or whatever, but it does it in a way that's not just like, oh, here all the weak people fight first and then the strong guy Goku comes in later or whatever.
Yeah.
It does it in a more not in a way that amounts to anything, but just in a way that's like the characters are thinking
Less
tactically.
shitty.
Yeah. Also, there's a part where in the digital world, apparently, if you get super angsty, it physically manifests itself as a dark cave that you fall into and get lost in. The cave of sadness or whatever.
Oh.
So that happens to Matt, or he's just like in this cave being sad and mopey.
Shouldn't that have happened like immediately? Wasn't he like angsty from the get-go?
He gets more. I mean, look, it's not just
does it have to reach like a peak?
He has to reach peak angst. Peak
And you
angst.
fall into the hole of sadness.
And Gabumon talks him out of it by biting him.
Yeah, I mean that's
and
the
then
way
cheering
to
up. And then once he gets talked out of it, hit the cave. Like they're in this cave, and they're just not in a cave anymore. They're out of it.
Yeah.
And then Sora goes through the whole thing, and Matt talks her out of that. It's just like apparently in the digital world, a cave of angst is just a thing.
I mean
that super simple idea of like, oh, you isolated yourself because you're so angsty, like physically manifesting itself. I just like that idea. It's dumb.
angst,
Like the way
sadness, depression.
Yeah.
Any of these emotions can be solved by beating the fuck out of the person.
I mean, pretty much. That's what friends are for.
I feel sad. Boom, punch to the neck. Now you're not feeling sad. You're feeling pissed and confused. Different emotions.
Yeah. Gotta be well-rounded people. Come on.
I can't experience emotions anymore. Just like, I'll fix this.
Yeah. So then they beat Piedmon because Manga Angemon is just the most powerful. Like he opens up a gate that just sucks him in. And then it turns out there was a true final boss that existed beyond the wall of fire, or the firewall, if you will,
Oh,
of the
fuck's sake.
digital world.
Digital. Hey, guys.
Yeah,
I can just
come on.
imagine one of the
The
writers.
digital
like,
world is the cross between computer stuff and the hopes and dreams of children. That's like explicitly kind of what it is. It's like the combination. So like emotions and dumb computer stuff just working together hand in hand. So Apocalypse turns what he is a specific thing. Is he is all the leftover data from Digimon that were too weak to survive. He is like all the
Okay.
sadness and darkness and like of the digital world, like given consciousness.
Okay.
So he's, which is a neat idea for your final boss of like everyone who just everything who sucked so much, everything that was too sad to keep going, everything that failed at living, conglomerated together and became this other thing
Crump.
that then gave birth to all the villains. So he also has the attacks of all the major villains they've faced before.
He's Crumpmon.
Crumpmon.
He's
Exactly.
all the sadness and failed hopes.
So, and he like cuts himself, like he like digs his claws into his own flesh and then reheals. Like,
Yeah, that's why
but that's
that
too
shows
intense for the dub, so they don't show that, and they make lots of jokes. The dub turns him into a joke machine. Like he has
Hell yeah.
a blue wire and a red wire coming into him. He's basically like I think it's like on an icosahedron, like a big geometrical shape, and then he's like a goo and then a torso.
Okay.
But he has like these two wires coming out, so one of the jokes in the dub is complete with I am the like the darkness, complete with hot and cold running water.
Wow, that's pretty shitty.
Why do you all get the pizza? Well, I get the crust.
That's
He's talking about
Yeah.
how he gets the worst
like-
leftovers of life, the dumb jokes they put in.
that's like Vader fucking rolling out and being like, "Don't choke on your aspirations." It's pretty bad.
It's pretty much that, except it's longer. So it
Except,
just
yeah,
keeps
except there's
going.
every single.
So then, and he like, he has an attack where he just makes all the Digimon de-digivolve, so they've lost all their power, and then he has another attack where he turns them all into binary, basically. Mm-hmm. Like there's like an effect of like all their like them turning into little particles and disappearing. And then they have an episode where they have to, remember all the strength they had, all the good times. He destroyed their crests specifically, which gave them their ability to go ultimate. And then they realize, oh, the crests were inside us the whole time. Like those symbols that existed start just glowing on their chests instead of being this little thing around their neck. But also they're supposed to be binary at this point, so like they're just showing their character models floating in a white background with ones and zeros scrolling behind them.
Yeah, that's how you know.
It's like, binary.
Binary.
So they come together, they beat him. The end attack is they have to imprison him with their digivices because he's gonna blow himself up. And they do that. And then they take a group photo and realize they have to leave immediately because the time dilation between the real world and the digital world is closing. The gate between the digital world and the real world is closing. So they have to go home immediately or they'll never be able to get back home. And their Digimon have to stay behind because that's where they belong. And it's very sad. And they say tearful goodbyes, and they ride away in a train car that they slept in like episode 3.
Yeah. I'm trying to decide if this is worse or better than Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe in terms of like, you just did all this shit and now it like, welcome back to the real world, motherfucker. No one will believe you.
You have to go back to school.
Yeah. I think Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is worse. Like, they fucking grew up and became, like, kings and queens and shit, and then had to be kids again. Mm-hmm. So, it still wouldn't be, like, all these friends you made and adventures you had, forget about it.
Yeah. And I mean, there's stuff of, like, TK and Patamon are just crying for their goodbye but at the end of it, it's like, we'll see each other again. It's just like that childlike optimism of like, there's literally nothing that's saying they're gonna see each other again, but like, we'll see each other again. It'll work
In a
out.
week. In a week or so.
It takes a couple years or less. Actually, I think it's less technically because of season two's dumb. I'll say.
I mean,
So yeah, so that episode ends, and then literally the next week, the Digimon Adventure 02 started, which took place years later, and like TK and Kari are like the age of the older kids in this series, and the other kids are in high school, like the next week, and it's very different in a lot of ways because the entire production staff is new for the most part.
yeah.
But also, there was one other movie that I just quickly, Our War Game, which was also made by Hosoda, which is way more internet-y. Like, it's literally, there's a Digimon on the internet, and he's messing with, like, grocery prices and stock prices. And it ends with him taking over, like, a nuke, and he's gonna nuke Japan.
Yeah.
And they're, like, fighting on the internet. And there's stuff like their internet connection goes out at one point. Like Ty smashes the computer and it blue screens.
Yeah, I remember this from the film or whatever that like combines this shit.
Yeah, so the dubbed version, Digimon the movie, kind of takes the first 3 Digimon movies and cobbles them together, and is the worst thing the dub of Digimon ever did. It's just not good. But yeah, that's like the middle of that movie. And then it ends with the power of the internet saving them, where they get powered up by people like sending in emails and DDoSing the bad guy.
I never thought of it. I knew how they like defeated it, but I never made that connection. Fucking spam them.
That definitely happens.
Right, we got Omnimon out of that.
Yes, so there's this...
One of the most powerful entities of the digital world. Okay. But who's the most powerful? Like, now I need to know. We need like I want a tier list.
Yeah, I don't know who the most powerful would be.
Okay, well...
In terms of Digimon, there is... Eventually they do the... They're like Digimon gods, basically. And I think Azulongmon is probably the strongest single Digimon in terms of things that aren't like a big bad.
When's he come out?
He gets introduced in 02, but he's
okay.
But that idea gets more played out in Tamers season 3. And they're based on like the like Chinese gods of like there's the dragon in the north, the phoenix of the south, there's a tiger of the west, and a turtle of, like it's like a real thing that they just took for Digimon and like straight up just did it. So like they're kind of like the gods of the digital world or whatever.
Okay. I mean,
if you're asking that question,
yeah,
Pacalomon,
I'll find out. I'll find
stronger
out.
Theoretically, but yeah. So, and Our War Game does more with like the Tai Sora romance than is kind of in the show. Like it's like explicitly a thing in that movie.
Yeah.
Most of the characters aren't really in it. Like Mimi is off at the beach, like
I remember that
because they're just like living their lives, and suddenly this problem happens. So Izzy grunts to Tai, and eventually they get a hold of Matt and TK, who are off on a trip somewhere, and they have to like find a computer.
Yeah, they have to find
a computer with internet. I like that. That stuff's fun. Just dumb real world problems in that era of like early 2000s era internet.
Yeah.
It's very of its time.
Man, that would be just in general, because I'm kind of thinking of like, I guess for some reason connecting it to like Harry Potter, like that late '90s, early 2000s, or mid to late '90s, I guess for Harry Potter. But how bad would that feel to like, while your series is still in progress, have it kind of shit on by technology of the modern day and it's outdated, like right away? Like, why the fuck don't they just use their cell phone? Like, it's right there.
Yeah, season 2 Palm Pilots are a big thing.
Palm Pilots. Oh man,
Everybody has their own little tablet.
the
It's like
bastard child
it's like
that nobody wanted.
it's like built into the show. It's really funny.
Yeah, yeah, because for O2 in like for physical merchandise, they had like the Digivices, and they had like the gray things or whatever,
Yeah,
like the little
D
fellas.
terminal.
Yeah, the D terminal.
So then when they went back and made Digimon Try, which is like a third season in that setting that's still coming out, they had to go back and like, yeah, flip phones are gonna be the big thing.
Oh man,
There are flip phones everywhere because this takes place in a very specific time. You
Yeah.
can't. We have to work within the lineage of the chronology of the show. It's stuck in this very specific time frame.
that's weird.
I like how not timeless the show is.
Yeah, it's definitely a time.
It is extremely dated.
Yeah, that's weird. I remember like actually that's what caused me to like look more into the original series and stuff because Digimon Try was announced, and I just I don't think I was into it enough to like be able to dive fully into it with like zero
Yeah.
build up.
Yeah, I watched Digimon in college became the thing me and my friends would watch when we couldn't agree on what to watch.
Okay, that makes
Like we would all be like, I don't know, we're just in all different moods. We can't figure out anything. But it's about Digimon. Yeah, sure. That's like just
How does-
fun. And
you guys
just
could
became
just
the
watch it
thing.
like through Berserk though. It's the every mood anime.
yeah, just real fun, silly times of a thing that
Yeah.
we've all seen before and can like do other stuff while we watch. Yeah, Berserk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, through like the first so many episodes, that's not. I mean, it would be the worst. Then after a certain point, things go a little downhill. Sure.
You might describe it as a tragedy.
Nah.
No? It's a comedy. It ends with a wedding.
I think. I think. I mean, not for the anime, but for the manga. I think the bigger tragedy is the fact that they're on a boat for so long, like years in real time, because it took so long to like release volumes and whatever that like they were on that
so
boat for a long time. Thankfully, I got in after that, so I just like breezed through it. I'm like, what were people complaining about? It wasn't that bad. Yeah, except it took like 5 years to get past it in real time. But no, yeah, that makes sense. It's a good show for that.
Yeah.
I think I don't know. I'll need to check if like Adventure O2 is on Netflix or something cuz I think I'd have an easier time getting back into that just cuz like that's one of the ones I did watch.
That's where it got you? Yeah.
I think not even from the start like yeah, I still kind of like fell into the middle of it. I think Tamers I was just old enough. When did Tamers start?
I mean, I think directly after that.
Okay, still like 2002 or whatever.
Something around
Original one, like yeah. I think that one I had seen enough of Digimon at that point where I was hearing about it, so I knew that it was like coming, and I watched it like from the get go, like recall the first episodes and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, Tamer started in in the U.S. in 2001. Like, it was right on the heels.
Yeah. So it was probably just a case of me, like, being a bit more into it to be able to keep
Yeah,
up.
and Tamers, I will say, is the best of the three. So when we get to that, that'll come up. It's also the most different, and it again, so it would require less like attachment to stuff
Yeah.
or whatever. And that was the other thing of like the way the relentless nature of which they put out Digimon, they were airing it. Like if you missed an episode, you were just kind of fucked. Like it wasn't re-airing stuff. Like I missed episodes 5 or 6 the first time, and I didn't see it till like years later because they
Okay.
never like started re-airing the original episodes. They just kept going. They were always moving forward.
I'm looking at the Wikipedia page for Tamers.
Yeah.
Like, I just got myself a little bit hyped up. Like, I might have to specifically go through that one, if not also two. It says the series is also known for its darker undertones and story plots, which I remember.
Yep.
Taking
For sure.
darker routes than previous series. The anime has become controversial over the decade with debates about how appropriate the show actually is for its target audience. And this part,
Yeah.
I guess I didn't stick through with it all the way to the end, just because, like, I was 6 or 7 or whatever and had the attention span of a walnut. Especially due to Lovecraftian nature of the last. Like, okay, you got me, I'm in. And then it specifically says that the English dub is more lighthearted dialogue-wise, so maybe I go subs.
I actually think the dub for Tamers is pretty good. Like they did a good job of letting dramatic moments happen and not forcing jokes in at the big moments.
I don't
Like
want lighthearted though.
Well, no, that's what I mean.
That's
I
not
mean
what I
they let the heavy moments happen. They didn't like
better.
try to undercut them the way they did with Apocalypse.
I want a tasteful Digimon experience.
Okay, I mean you're probably better off with subs, I would say. But the dub is very good.
Yeah, no, I assume it is. It's just funny that they specifically mentioned that.
I
It's
think
more lighthearted, though not as much as previous series.
Yeah. Like Stephen J. Bloom wrote a lot of the scripts for that for the American dub of that season. It's like a weird detail.
Okay.
You know the
This
the
is-
dub actor of Spike from Cowboy Bebop and a shit ton of other stuff. Yeah, yeah. Tamers is a whole different beast and the best of the Digimon. But this stuff is important as a sort of background because it does establish those ideas of the digital world in terms of being like a reflection of kids' hopes and dreams and
Yeah.
internet technology or whatever. I think they like Izzy directly lays out the map of the digital world as like mapping onto the computer network of the real world at one point. Like that's sort of where they figure out what the nature of the world is.
Which begs the question, like, how long has it existed? Like,
It's like, yeah, it's existed since the 80s.
yeah.
Whatever. That Digimon Tavers again gets much more into that kind of stuff.
Okay.
That definitely goes deeper into the lore. Whereas season 2, like, is terrible about maintaining continuity and stuff doesn't make sense and it's infuriating.
Just,
So there's that.
hey, we got more letters complaining about how we fucked something up with the lore. Yeah, but check out all these rice puns I drew out. It's gonna be great. You can
There's
have
one
Vemon say
episode
all
that's
of them.
literally like I feel like every line is an egg pun.
Oh, boy.
Like it's really the dub goes hard on that season.
Excellent.
That's like probably too good for the
Oh no.
I shouldn't even say puns. I should say egg wordplay. They probably don't even qualify as puns.
Not allowed in the pun books. That's pretty bad. I think there's enough nostalgia there to like get me through it though. Even if I got the
Yes.
parts where I'm like, ugh, I want death.
Yeah, the other problem I'd say with season 2 is that the best stuff happens kind of at the end of the first major arc.
Okay.
That's kind of where it tops out, and then it never quite gets back there. The end of the Digimon Emperor story is the
Right.
peak.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a whole other podcast. So
Yeah, it
Digimon is a it's a show that means a lot to me, like a very nostalgic. I like it a lot. Still, it was again one of those shows of like seeing it as a kid, and it was serialized storytelling of like this happens, this happens, this happens, just building a world, characters growing, and that kind of stuff. Like at a time when that wasn't as common in TV or whatever. Stuff was a lot more episodic for most of the stuff I was watching.
And to me, Digimon was that show that was almost directly stolen from me by extremist Christians. Hot damn.
So yeah, good times.
Different experiences.
Different strokes for different folks.
Don't stroke too hard. Those extremist Christians will come back and get all up on your case.
So this has been the Salt Circle Podcast. You can email us at saltcirclepodcast@gmail.com. Find us on soundcloud.com/saltcircle and on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music, other podcast sources that pull from there. On Twitter at saltcirclepod. And you can find me on Twitter at Comic Panels.
And I'm on Twitter at bean_LP. I was trying to think of the internet. We're digital based. We were talking about digital monsters. There's something there, but I don't got it.
Prodigious. It's Izzy's catchphrase.
Ugh.
Prodigious.
Prodigious, like as an exclamation of joy or something. Like,
Yeah. Just all the time.
oh
It's
boy,
his thing.
prodigious.
Whatever. He was adopted. It's fine.
Oh no.
His dad was a famous mathematician who died. It's fine.
Prodigious.
So he got raised by a friend of his parents. My friends of his parents. His real parents. It happens. Anyway, goodbye.